3 years. That catch my attention. Somebody said they have been playing for 3 years and they're still not tier 5. And honestly, my first reaction was surprise. My first reaction was how? Not because tier 5 is easy, not because everybody should already have it, because after enough time, most players assume time eventually solve everything. You keep logging in, you keep upgrading, you keep collecting speed ups, you keep doing events, eventually tier 5 arrive. That's the story most players tell themselves. The problem is I've been seeing players with less time reaching tier 5 faster. And that's where the things start getting uncomfortable, because if you players have similar account age but completely different progress, then maybe time isn't actually the deciding factor. Maybe something else is happening. And honestly, this is the first thing I assumed back in the days when I was trying to open my tier 5. When I was young, Burgi, there was just so many, how to say, I mean, the game was different back in the days. We didn't have Kingdom buff, we didn't have non-stop level 5 milestone, like something that you can have right now in the home kingdom. It's basically everywhere. The things was different, but after all, I was keeps telling myself one day I'm going to reach the tier 5, but it was actually a hard road. And my personal experience about how I used to think about tier 5 was just a waiting game. And I remember my first stream is still on my channel when I tried to open tier 5. I started the stream, I was thinking I was having enough speed ups. I finished the stream without opening the tier 5. 2 weeks later, I finally opened the tier 5. So this is something like my personal experience about how I used to think about the tier 5 and how I actually opened the tier 5 back in the days. For a long time, I thought tier 5 was basically a countdown timer. You wait too long enough, you get there, simple. But in reality, something that I noticed, here we're talking about the years. Years. From level 9 to level 10, for example, Defense Formation 2, is 94 days. Half year. Or 1/4 year. It's crazy amount of time how much one single update can actually cost you. Then I start paying attention to accounts, not power accounts. And I noticed something strange. The players reaching tier 5 weren't always the players playing the most. Sometimes they were simply making different decisions. And that creates a dangerous question. What if tier 5 isn't a time problem? What if it's priority problem? Because those are completely different things. And right now, I'm going to give you an example of something that I used to prioritize that's slower my progression. I'm not going to point tier 5 because I was extremely focused over opening the tier 5, but something else that actually slowed down my legions. And the thing was, I was focused over the two things. Opening tier 5, and the second thing was heroes. I didn't focus over the pets, I didn't focus over the artifacts. And pets and artifacts are, are something extremely important. So when people was seeing me open for the first time Exemplar back in the days, people was actually surprised that the Burgas finally is opening the Exemplar. I mean, is this dude's not like playing the game for like 2 years and something, close to 3 years? Is it for first time opening the Exemplar? Wait, what? So, I was having some questions, but the reason I opened later Exemplar because it was not part from my priorities. So I believe here also we're seeing the same. Not opening tier 5 for 3 years is maybe the tier 5 opening is not actually the player priority at the end of the day. The first thing I start noticing was actually speed ups. Everybody talk about speed ups. Everybody complain about the speed ups. Everybody wants more speed ups. But here's the weird part. I've been seeing players with thousands of days of speed ups, still struggling with progression, which shouldn't happen if speed ups are the real bottleneck, right? So then I started asking a different question. Maybe the issue isn't how many speed ups we are getting, maybe it's where they go. And that's when the things become much more interesting. Now, one of the experience I was actually having was a player who was having like 5 million tier 4 troops. 5 million. At this point of the game, I was having like 2.5 million. I mean, in form of legions. So normally the question come in my head: how this person having that many troops? And then I realized, after I spoke with the person, he told me what was his strategy. And his strategy was having a lot of tier 4 is going to help him, fighting on the battlefield for longer because you have more troops. But in the same time, having more tier 4 is going to increase the elixir production. So he was looking from the point of where he have more tier 4s to play with, and at the same time is having more free healing. But the problem here was that he was using universal speed ups to do that. And by using his universal speed ups, you're not saving those speed ups for the researchers. So opening the tier 5 is basically delayed somewhere in the future. So this is the personal experience where I saw somebody using speed ups differently than me. Because every speed up spent is a decision. Researching, training, healing. Okay, for the this one we don't have, but building, event, everything competes for the same reason. And I think that's where many accounts quietly fall behind. Not because they're wasting speed ups, because they're using them on the things that feel productive. That's a huge difference. Some progress feels good. Other progress creates tier 5. Those are not always the same thing. And one of the things I did in this direction when the progress was feeling good, but it not actually opening the tier 5, was back in the days. Where there was a wiki spin. Right now, we're not having any kind of wiki spin, but I was spending my gems. Where's my gems? Yeah, I was spending my gems to go for the wheel, to get Kinara, to get Madeline, to get this hero, that hero. And in the same time, I didn't actually focus over the VIP. And VIP is one of the main things, main places where you're going to get your speed ups. The moment you hit like VIP 15, you're going to be presented with 24-hour speed ups. Obviously, on SVIP, you're going to get like 10, 24-hour training speed ups. But we're talking about the universal one because they're going to serve us in the researches. So I was spending my gems and not actually investing my gems in the VIP, which VIP in the future is going to produce me these 24-hour speed ups. And the total amount here is 20 speed ups. So every week I delay opening the VIP 15, I was losing 20 days in form of speed ups. 10 weeks, 200 days. It's just like that. I'm losing those speed ups just because I decide to get my gems and I spend it in the wiki spin. Wiki spin or Well of Destiny, trying to grab some hero there, or maybe getting some extra shards for the hero. So yeah, this is the real example of progress that was looking good but didn't help me reaching my tier 5. In same time, it's boosting the heroes, but it separated me for opening the tier 5. Then I noticed something else. A lot of players treat troops training as account progression. And honestly, I understand why. Power go up, numbers go up, account looks stronger, everything feels good. But then you look at research and suddenly things get uncomfortable. Because research doesn't look exciting. Research doesn't show up in battle power the same way. Research doesn't create the same emotional reward. Yet research is usually the thing standing between you and the tier 5. And that's create another question. How many players are incidentally feeding the wrong progression path? And here's why training troops, I mean, I already said one of the reasons, training troop is feeling so rewarding because you're just having more troops that you can fight outside, on the battlefield. In the same time, you get more elixirs. In the same time, you see how the enemy is stop fighting because they're out of troop, but in the same time, you're having so much troops. This feeling that I can sit here and play for so much time. In same time, my traits may not be the same like the person who is actually doing the research and boosting the power of their troops, but I'm going to have more troops. So from this point, this is my opinion on why training troops feel more rewarding than the research. And the scary part is that the game often rewards the wrong behavior in short term. Training feels amazing, events rewarded, power increased, kingdom ranking increased, everything looked positive. Meanwhile, the tier 5 path is sitting there quietly asking for more research, more patience, more planning, more discipline. And discipline is much harder than excitement. I think that's why this trap catches so many people. And it's not a knowledge problem, it's a psychological problem. And here's an example of a moment when short-term progress was hurting the long progress is, when those type of events appear. Now, I really don't know when this video is going to come online, but oh my god, we have some battle favis. Okay. But my point is, the greatest height is coming. You look at this city skin, and to be fair, this city skin is looking absolutely amazing. It's infantry unit defense penetration, which I don't think is actually that good, but this is my opinion, honestly. So you look at this one, you go for the event, you basically have to boost power. So you can actually boost power with the researches. I want to point out this thing. But for example, for events like Strongest Ward, there is a section where you just go and do some trainings. So what the people are doing is pushing hard with training troops on the events, and at the same time, I have no issue people doing that. The issue comes that they're spending universal speedups, and all of your universal speedups till you open tier 5 should go in one direction, and this is the research direction. Then I start paying attention to events timing, and honestly, I think this is where a lot is hidden. I think this is where a lot of hidden progress come from. Two players can spend an exact same amount of speed ups, one gets significantly more value, not because they're lucky, because they're weighted. That's it, they're weighted. Which sound boring, but strategy games are full of boring decisions that create huge advantages. And the more I look at tier 5 progression, the more I realize timing might be one of the most underrated resources in the game. Not speed ups, timing. And right now I'm going to share some personal experience where event timing changed my accounts, my account plan. And this is, for the city skin, I save like 9 months. So I'll be able to have this city skin. But I see something very interesting, and people are saving their tier 5 pushing for events like Greatest Heights, because in the Greatest Heights is power increase. That includes building power, because when you level up your building, you're going to receive some power. If you go and check it out, this is actually the power that I'm receiving from this building. It's 2.1 million, the final level 25. Absolutely same for the researches. If you go and check it out, some research, you're going to see how much power this research is giving. And obviously making this defense formation level 10 is like 2.1 million power. And you can go with 2 of these. So something that I see, and I suggest people do that, is when you push for opening tier 5, obviously you need a lot of preparation. One of the things that I suggest is making the college of order level 25, so you can you can have this research speed 25. Get all the research speed you can, get all the building speed up you can, get all the training speed up you can. So and this is the moment you want to actually push. And yeah, I think this is a personal experience where events timing changed the account completely. And yeah, I see more and more people use this clever strategy when they push for tier 5 to combine it with the event. That's when I start questioning another assumption. Players often ask, how long did tier 5 take? Brother, do you know how much time I'm getting? This question is just so much time. I don't think that's the right question, because the answer is different for everybody. A better question may be, what is slowing my account down right now? Because for one player it's speed ups, for another player maybe theatry, for another one can be arrows, for another it's research priorities, for another is event timing, account planning. The bottleneck change. And that's where I think many players get stuck. They solve the bottleneck that had 6 months ago, not the bottleneck they have today. And I'm going to give you an example of one of the bottlenecks when I open tier 5. Maybe it's going to be good, info if you're in this direction. Back in the days when I was opening at level 7 assault strategy, I don't know how it's right now, but at level 7, it asked me for level 10 supply chains. That means this thing should be level 10. From there, it actually this one was asking for level 10. I think this Want of Plenty, and Want of Plenty, to go from level 7 and above, you need College of Order level 25. To make College of Order level 25, you need Rally Drums, Rally Bacon, and you need the Watchtower. These 2 buildings, you need them at level 25. So here we're talking about the arrows. Here we're talking about the theater. And here is the thing. I was thinking maybe this is the biggest bottleneck I have, and this is collecting arrows and theater. And I was spending gems to gem theater to gem arrows, so I can finally make them level 25. And the moment I finish this bottleneck, I open here, and the speed ups bottleneck hit me like a truck, because it started needing hundreds of days. I think I was having like 600 days and still was not enough to opening the tier 5. It's just way too much bottlenecks. But long story short, you need the economy tree full to have the military tree full, which is absolutely amazing. So this example how my biggest bottleneck changed over time. It was first theater, then and arrows, then it was the speed ups, which is crazy. Then things get really interesting. The players who reach tier 5 faster usually aren't obsessed with tier 5. They're obsessed with efficiency. And that's a huge difference. One mindset asks, how do I unlock tier 5? The other one asks, how do I get the most value for every decision, for every speed up I have? And weirdly enough, the second mindset often reach tier 5 first, because tier 5 become the tier 5 become the outcome, not the objective. The more I think about it, the more I believe that I've been playing for years can actually be misleading, because years measure activity, not efficiency. Years measure time, not decisions. And strategy games are ultimately decision-making games, not waiting games. That's why not 2 players can spend the same amount of time playing and end up in completely different places. The difference isn't the calendar, the difference is the path they choose. So if somebody tell me they've been playing for 3 years and still aren't tier 5, I don't automatically think they need more time. Now I immediately wonder what decisions are slowing the account down. Because if you're played for years and tier 5 is still feel impossible, impossibly far away, the problem might not be the time. The problem might be that you've been prioritizing the wrong things. And honestly, I think that's much more useful question to ask. So I'm curious. If you look at your account right now, what do you think is actually stopping your tier 5 progress? Is it really the time, or it's something you've been never questioned before? Anyway, guys, that is for this video. Huge thank you to all channel members for supporting the channel. If you do like to support the channel as well, you can check out the join button below. Members get early access to videos, exclusive content, member shoutouts, and Warwords member can reach me out directly for strategy and account advices. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.